Is loading. All righty. And we are fantastic. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Chris Menges with Basepaws, and we're continuing our webinar series. And today we have with our fantastic guest, Dr. Tina Wismer.
Hello.
Now, Dr. Wismer is here with us from the ASPCA Poison Control Hotline, Animal Poison Control Hotline. And so we are going to have a fantastic discussion about how to help make your house safer for your cat, and really, honestly, sometimes for yourself as well. I think sometimes that comes up. Now, Dr. Wismer, thank you so much for being here today. And why don't you give just a little bit of a background about yourself and about the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center?
Sure. So I'm a Midwest kind of girl. I grew up in Michigan. I went to undergrad at a small college in Ohio, Findlay. And then I ended up at Purdue for vet school. So go Boilers, if there's anybody listening. And then, I went back to Michigan and I worked in the first practice that I cleaned kennels for in high school. I did that for a couple of years and then ended up at an emergency practice. Loved the emergency practice, got to use a lot more of my education. And I really enjoyed toxicology, right? Poisoning cases. Because even though things could be bad, there was that ability to predict how bad they were going to be. What do I need to watch for, right? Oh, you ate, your owner's heart medication. I need to watch, your heart rate and your blood pressure. And I saw a job advertised at the ASPCA Animal Poison Control here, and found out it was actually a alternative residency to get boarded in toxicology. So that appealed to me too. So I came here, and it's been almost 22 years now that I've been here.
So you didn't expect the 22-year job application there?
No, but I really like my job. I enjoy educating people. So whether they're pet owners or veterinarians, I think I'm just really a frustrated teacher.
Oh, that's good. Well, we certainly are having folks join in today that can get some good education and also some questions, folks. Now, if you are on Facebook or on YouTube, whichever one, just put your questions into the comments. We'll be able to see those and answer those as we go on a little bit further. Before we kind of dive into everything, I have to kind of do the qualifier. This is a general education webinar about toxicology and animals. This information is not to be used to make any clinical decisions about the management of any cats, dogs, or humans that may be affected with any of these potential poisonings from there. Now, if you do have any specific questions about case management, talk to your local veterinarian, or of course, there is the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center hotline, which we will put that number up a little later as well. Now, so you talked about being a frustrated teacher and about that education, really getting that education there. So, one of the things that we always find very interesting is you do have a customer, kind of a general population facing number, and then, how much of that also is service to veterinarians as well?
Sure. So the initial contact for us is about 2/3 pet owners and 1/3 veterinarians. But most of the pet owners are like, I called my veterinarian, they told me to call the experts, so I'm calling.
Okay. And then the other third are the veterinarians themselves kind of managing clinical cases within the hospital?
Yes. And the way that our system works is that if we do end up needing to send you to the veterinarian, there's a case number that goes along with you, so the veterinarian can call and we can help with case management.
Okay, perfect. Now, we do have this number. It's going to be kind of scrolling for a little bit at the bottom here. We're playing around with our new StreamYard, and we hope everyone is enjoying this from there as well. Oh, goodness. So, you said that you really do enjoy your job. Of course you do. You've been there for almost 22 years now. So that is certainly a testament to itself. What about this toxicology, and what about the case questions that is the most interesting thing to you, kind of what really drives that passion?
Right. So I guess I enjoy my job because I'm able to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And especially I'm able to help animals, right? But we know the animals always come with the people. Or, yes. You don't just send the cat with the credit card to the veterinarian. So it's amazing what animals get into. Cats are definitely much smarter about things than dogs. But surprise, surprise, right? But it's amazing what animals will get into. You know, pet proofing your home is definitely an important thing. And it's that whole, you know, prevention is worth an ounce of cure.
Yes. Now we talked a little about, you already started to mention that kind of pet proofing, and that's one of the things that we do want to kind of start to talk about. But when you think about cats and dangers in the home, how do you organize that in your mind? Is there certain categories that you look into, or what's kind of the best way for people to really start to think about their own home and environment?
Right. So we can either do it by types of toxins, or if we're talking about going through your house, room by room is the easiest thing. You know, so if we start in the kitchen, where do we keep a lot of bad stuff, right? Under the kitchen sink. We tend to keep cleaning products. You keep your, you know, dishwashing detergent, you know, for your automatic machine there. At least I do. There are some foods that can be potentially dangerous. So in the kitchen also. So, and then the garbage can. So at my house, I have baby locks on a lot of my drawers. I have no children in my household, just cats and dogs, but I have baby locks. So I think the kitchen's probably a pretty easy place to pet proof. You know, we then think about bathrooms, right? Same way, medicine cabinet, you know, things that you clean the bathroom with, those all need to be kept away. When we start thinking about other areas of the house, we have to think about, where do you keep your medications, right? Always make sure that you keep your medications and your pet medications separate. We get a lot of, I accidentally gave my cat, you know, my child's ADHD medication, or, you know, my thyroid medication. People get busy in the morning, they're in the same place, they get 2 pills, they go to give the cat the pill, and then they're like, oh, wait, that was mine. And with cats especially, plants, house plants, bouquets, cats, you know, we always said that cats are smarter than dogs, but when it comes to plants, cats are much bigger plant eaters than dogs are.
Actually, now we have so many different little categories that we can already start to kind of dive into and talk a little bit. You know, I'm going to kind of jump us back to the beginning, into the kitchen, into those foods, you know, the dangerous foods. What are the most dangerous foods that you really are at the top of your list for we need to watch out for cats?
So for cats, we're going to think about things like onions and garlic. Now, this truly is the dose determines the poison thing. You know, 1 piece of onion is not going to be a problem. But for a cat, we start thinking about a teaspoon per pound of cat can be a problem. So we had a kitty the other day that decided to eat half a cup of caramelized onions. Right? I like them. Cat thought they were very tasty too. Yes, right? And the problem with onions is that they can cause anemia. They affect your red blood cells. And cats, unfortunately, have way more sensitive red blood cells than dogs or people. Yes.
And so what does that do then to those red blood cells?
So it actually causes them to, for lack of a better term, explode, right? They rupture. And so the cat becomes anemic, right? Not enough red blood cells to carry oxygen. So they start having difficulty breathing. You know, they're very lethargic. You may notice that their urine is red or rusty color because the color of the ruptured red blood cells goes out for the urine. And, you know, if they eat enough onions and garlic, they can actually die from anemia. So keep that away when you're cooking.
Okay. Especially once it's fully covered in butter and delicious.
Yes. And, the one small piece of sliver of garlic that falls on the floor, not a problem. They start eating cloves of garlic, you need to call your veterinarian.
Okay. All right. Now we've got onions and garlic. And what else is there? I know there are certainly a lot of other options that we've worried about.
So cats are definitely different than dogs. So with dogs, of course, we worry about things like grapes and raisins, causes kidney failure. Not a problem for cats. Okay? So we don't have to worry about that. Chocolate. Cats, fortunately, aren't big chocolate eaters. We get a lot of calls about cats licking the chocolate, taking a couple bites of cake, but they don't eat enough to get themselves into trouble beyond potential stomach upset. So we want to keep the chocolate away, but typically it's not life-threatening. The artificial sweetener xylitol, that is also a dog thing. Cats are fine with it.
Okay.
The other food, / drink that can be a problem is alcohol.
Really?
Yes. Now, cats aren't big, beer drinkers or wine drinkers, but White Russian, right? Any cream-based drink, cats are all over that. And it doesn't take a whole lot of volume, right, to cause a problem. So keep your lovely cream-based drinks away from
Okay. All right. So White Russians.
White Russians, bad.
Bad. Basically, the milkshakes of the liquor world is where cats like to hang out.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
All right. So we have kind of those top three, or those top areas. Those onions and garlic are those main ones that you're really worried about. And then also for you, you said that the alcohol is that next kind of the biggest one, kind of the most common ones that you're seeing, isn't that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then, I do want to, there are kind of, we're going to keep moving in through that house itself on there. Now, plants, which can also be very commonly in the kitchen, very commonly on there. Why do you feel like that is such a greater problem in cats? Of course, why do you think they even like them?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? If we knew why cats like to eat grass or why pets like to eat grass, we could make, a lot of money. But when we think about plants, especially, they tend to move a little bit if there's airflow, right? So we know cats love to attack things that may move. Some things they're attracted to, like members of the mint family. We think of catnip, right? It's a member of the mint family. So cats are somewhat interested in herbs and munching on them. They tend not to eat a whole lot of volume of plant material, but they like to sample things here and there. And with some plants, that is enough to be a problem.
And which ones are those? Which ones, when we start to think about those sampling, is those danger points that we really have to watch?
Sure. So we have a couple that are extremely toxic. The first one are going to be members of the true lily family. So you're going to have these in your house typically as a bouquet, right? Mother's Day is coming up, big flower holiday, right? We just had Easter, also big flower holiday. True lilies can cause kidney failure in cats. And it is so dangerous for cats that a little bit of pollen that they groom off themselves, a bite of the leaf, a bite of, the petals is enough to cause kidney failure. So no lilies in the house if you have cats. If you don't know and found out, oh my gosh, it looks like the cat has been snacking on this, they need to see the vet immediately. We have kind of this 18-hour time frame that if we start treatment within the first 18 hours, these cats do really well.
Okay.
But after that, our prognosis goes down. And treatment is at least a couple of days of intravenous fluids, so they have to spend the night.
Now, and you brought up kind of those major holidays that have lilies attached to them as well. And, as one of the sad things that I also kind of have heard and don't want people to kind of be aware of is also, as sad as it can sound, when human family members pass away as well. We want to make sure that, in such a tough time, that a bouquet doesn't sneak in there that has that unintentional thing in there as well.
And many florists will let you select or request a pet safe bouquet. So they will leave off those lilies. They substitute other things for them.
Okay, good. Good. So they now have a lot of florists have those pet safe options in there.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect.
The other plant that can be very dangerous are sago or cycad palms.
Okay.
And it used to be that we would only see these guys. Sorry, hold on, my computer just froze.
You're still here. You're still here, I promise.
Okay. Yes, never a dull moment. Yes, cycad palms. So it used to be that we would just see these plants grown as outdoor ornamentals. But now you can go to like Target, Home Depot, IKEA, and buy these cute little potted sago palms. And they, they look very innocuous, but they can cause liver failure. A few bites of the leaf and chewing on the stem is definitely a problem. So no sago palms in the household, please.
Okay. Solves a lot of those problems. So our big ones right now are those members of the true lily family. The sago palms are kind of the members of theirs, particularly those tiny ones that are inside the household now. Yes. And then are there any other to kind of round out a top 3 of danger plants that kind of for cats?
Sure. I'm going to mention a huge group of plants. They're going to be the insoluble calcium oxalate containing plants. And this is what we're going to find in most of our common house plants. Dieffenbachia, philodendron, Schefflera, a lot of those plants, really, if it's got kind of thick, green, waxy, shiny leaves, it probably has insoluble calcium oxalates. Now, the good news is that this is not going to be a deadly thing, but it can make cats at least somewhat sick. These insoluble calcium crystals look like needles. And what happens is when the animal bites into the plant, those needles shoot into their gums and their tongues. It hurts, right? Oh,
yeah.
So the cat stops chewing. So it's the plant's method of protecting itself because, of course, plants can't run away. So the cat stops chewing, but now it's drooling, right? It's drooling. Its mouth is painful. So we actually give them a little bit of milk or water. We especially like milk because calcium will help dissolve those calcium-based crystals. Okay. And they're fine. So.
Okay. That one is very startling. Very startling.
It's very, panicking to owners, but fortunately the cats tend to do just fine. Some of them learn their lesson, some of them not so much.
You have a lot of repeat offenders, some frequent flyers in that mode from there.
We do.
That's unfortunate. Now that is unfortunate. Now, okay, so we've looked at food. We've started to look at foods and kind of some of our major topics that we worry about. Also plants and the common house plants that we really want to keep safe from there. Now, let's talk a little bit about cleaners and things. You mentioned all of the dangerous things that are under the cabinets or kind of more associated with maintaining a home as part of instead of decorating or eating. What of these kind of areas and categories that do you get the most calls about for cats?
Right. So we get a lot of calls about, people will use disinfecting wipes, right? Or they'll use a spray in their shower or, potentially in the toilet or the sink. And then they find the cat in there, right? The cat's on the counter. The counter's still wet. Now its feet are wet. Or the cat's now in the tub and it's got the product on its feet. So keep the cat out of the area, right? Baby gates, closed doors, right? Potentially if you're doing a deep cleaning on your kitchen, if you've got that big open house plan, maybe the cat gets, locked in the bathroom for an hour or so, right? Give them something to entertain them, some catnip or something like that. They'll be happy. Now, with all of these cleaners, the good thing is that once they are dry, they're no longer a problem for your pets. So you don't have to keep them away forever, just until it's dry. Okay.
All right. And then, does this apply also to things like insecticides or anything like that? Because that also kind of that's immediately jumps into my mind when we start to think about things that I spray in my house. I have some wasps that like to live near me that I'm not a huge fan of being a neighbor of. And so every now and then we kind of get into a little tiff.
I have ants right now. It's that time of year. The ants are coming in. So same way, right? An insecticidal spray, use it as long as it's labeled for inside use, right? Always read the label. Once it's dry, the cat can come back in the area.
Okay.
The little ant baits or roach baits, these are baited with things like peanut butter, jelly, breadcrumbs, and lard. So it attracts the roaches and the ants, but it also attracts dogs and sometimes cats. The good news is there's not a lot of insecticide in those. Volume-wise, it can cause some stomach upset, but yeah, avoid using those in any places your pets can get to.
Okay. And so really those extra baits that, anything we kind of start to think about attracts animals or attracts insects, kind of is that also attractive scenario to our cats themselves. Oh, goodness. I know there's now, let's see, we kind of talked about a little bit about plants, a little bit about insecticides and cleaners, as well as, oh my goodness, foods from there. Now, I mean, the next kind of big elephant in that room is as we move into the bathroom, like you mentioned, the medications on there. How do we see that? Typically, we see medications in pills, and my personal experience is cats are generally averse to pills themselves. I don't know. I think we have plenty of owners out there that might be able to corroborate that a little bit, or at least kind of from there. Now, how does that generally conversation or call go for y'all?
That is an amazing segue because, right, you can't get cats to take pills in most cases, right? However, so most cats end up getting pills because the owner gives them to them. Okay. I gave the wrong medication. There are two groups of pills that we see cats eating. One are natural thyroid sources. Typically, it's beef thyroid, right? Just dried beef thyroid. So, I mean, if you're a cat, tasty. Good news is cats, dogs too, tolerate huge doses of thyroid medication compared to people. And then there is this one medication called Effexor or venlafaxine. It is an antidepressant. I do not know what is in these pills, but cats love it, right? I think the veterinary community needs to find out so we can make the cats easier to pill. But, when typically someone says, oh, my cat ate, 10 Tylenol, I'm like, probably not, right? They probably played hockey with them. They're under the fridge or under the stove. But when someone tells me the cat ate 10 Effexor, I believe them. They will eat the entire bottle of pills.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. And kind of what do we see from that Effexor in cats?
Sure. So as an antidepressant, it affects serotonin, right? That's the neurotransmitter in your brain, helps make you feel happy. Well, what happens when you get too much serotonin is cats become disoriented. We assume they hallucinate, right? They're kind of watching that invisible tennis game. They will vocalize, right? They'll stare into like a corner of the room and just keep going, wow, 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 over and over. But what we're most worried about is what's going on inside. And we're worried about their heart rate and especially their blood pressure. So they usually need to see the veterinarian. The good news is with treatment, they do really well.
Okay. That is entirely surprising to me. That mixed medication certainly makes sense. We've got a comment now from Heather Perry, which is a great idea and fantastic, is to separate where they keep the human and the animal medications as well, just to help try and reduce that chance a little bit as well, so that we know when we go to this area, this may be more for our animals. Of course, if we keep it in a safe place, baby locks and everything from there, as well as from the humans in that different either bathroom or different scenario. Oh goodness. Now, Are there any particularly kind of normal cat medications that we see that are rather normal human medications that we see that are given to cats kind of either inadvertently or unknowingly that are dangerous?
Right. So I would probably say on the human medicine side are painkillers, right? You see your cat, maybe your cat jumped off the counter wrong, or he's older and he's got some arthritis. So people, they don't want their pet to hurt. So they give something like ibuprofen, or they give something like acetaminophen.
Okay.
So ibuprofen is a non-steroidal. And the problem with these is that they can cause stomach ulcers and kidney failure. Cats take very, very small doses of non-steroidals compared to people because their kidneys are very sensitive and they don't metabolize them very well. With acetaminophen, common trade name, of course, is Tylenol. That in cats can actually affect their liver, but more importantly, it can actually change their blood so it can't carry oxygen. So these cats, they get these like chocolate colored gums. They're having difficulty breathing. They're very lethargic, so they have to see the veterinarian.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just remember, folks, I know as much as when they are in pain, anytime that we see a pain, whether it be an arthritis or anything like that, always call and talk to your veterinarian or take them in to see from there. Of course, in these COVID times, we always say call your veterinarian first. Just to figure out exactly what the routine is going with your veterinarian at that standpoint in time so that you can get the best care for your cat while also keeping yourself and the veterinary professionals as safe as possible.
And I have to say, in the past few years, we have a lot better choices of pain medications for cats that you can get from your veterinarian. So yeah, definitely make that call.
Good. Yes. And then we do. That has been a source, that was a sore spot for a long time in veterinary medicine, kind of unfortunately for cats and in a lot of areas, we run almost 10 years behind dogs in scenarios. And we're glad to see the focus. I feel like the focus on cats is becoming a little bit more concentrated and appropriate, either from a drug or from just a straight knowledge standpoint.
Yeah. And cats are definitely very different from dogs. We think about the whole evolution of cats, and because they are obligate carnivores, right? They have to eat meat. They don't have as many metabolizing enzymes in their liver. So that's why their drug choices are actually rather limited, because stuff that dogs can take or that you and I can take can be poisonous to cats because they just can't, break it down like we would.
And like I say, so finicky. And that is really interesting to look at it from that evolutionary standpoint, because, with dogs, we worry about so many different things. But cats, it almost seems like when we see it in cats, it's usually like a little bit makes a huge impact on our cats. And those are the ones that we're most worried about. Yeah. Now, from just kind of almost a general kind of commonality with cats, what's the most common calls that you all get about cats or kind of toxic things for cats?
So with cats, it is actually the plants, the insoluble calciumoxalate. And I think not only is it cat behavior, but they're very common plants. It's a huge group. They're easy house plants to grow, right? So that's what most of us have. So it is plants. And speaking of plants, what we have seen increased calls with in cats is marijuana.
Oh, certainly. As it's become legalized, it's become a little bit more.
Yes.
Now, keep going on that. I'm curious.
Yeah. So cats tend to be more attracted to the plant material. So joints, marijuana in baggies, right? That seems to still be very attractive to them. Dogs, of course, are much more into the edibles, especially if they contain chocolate. But we did have a case a couple of months ago where someone had made a marijuana lasagna, and the cat did get into it. So certainly we can see problems with edibles too.
Okay, and what do they typically look like for those cats?
So we see this kind of a trifecta of signs. First of all, the cats are sleepy, right? They're falling asleep, but if you stimulate them, they're hyperesthetic. They overreact, right? If they can walk, they're wobbly like they're drunk. And sometimes they get urinary incontinence. Okay? We see that more in dogs than we do in people. Well, we don't see it all in people, but then cats. So cats and dogs appear to make different metabolites than people do. So that's why we see these signs with them. So keep your marijuana away from your cats, your children, and yeah, you'll be fine.
Oh my goodness. I know, especially as this is becoming more and more common throughout the United States. I think roughly half-ish of the states now it's relatively legal, or at least available in from there. Now, I'm going to diverge and do a kind of a quick question on there. We're going to start to answer some of the questions and kind of jump back and forth as we keep rolling them in. So folks, please keep asking questions, and we will go ahead and start to answer them. Now, from the very first one is from Stephanie Mana, and I think you can see it on your screen there. It's blocking my mouth. I'm just going to hide down here. But no, Stephanie says, thank you for doing this. Will there be a replay available and or a printable list that highlights these points? Now I'm going to take the first part of this, from a replay standpoint. This will be uploaded to YouTube afterwards, but from a resource standpoint for things that customers or the public can find themselves, where's a great place for them to go?
Sure. We actually have a lot of articles or information, almost said inflammation, on our website. So ASPCA.org. Okay. We have a list of toxic and non-toxic plants, right? It doesn't list all the plants in the world, but at least the common ones. So that's a good place to start if you're looking for, household plants. So exactly right.
Nice and little easy to pop up there as well. Now, I've also heard that y'all have a mobile app. Is that true?
We do have a mobile app, and it is geared towards the pet owner. And it's also geared towards different species. It has dogs, cats, birds, and horses. So you pick your species, and you can type in the toxin that you're concerned about, and it rates it kind of like a stoplight, right? Green is good. You can stay home, not worry about it. Yellow, you should probably call your vet. If it's red, you need to go. You need to go now.
Okay, well, that's just a fantastic resource for people to have. We of course recommend that everyone download that app and get involved from there, so that it you're able to have that information kind of either there, or if you do need it, of course, you can always call the poison control hotline on there as well.
And the app is free, so even better, right?
Oh yeah. And even better. Perfect. We always want free educational resources on there. Now, we've got one from Jessica Wright as well. And it talks about something that I think has been gaining a lot, or been hearing a lot more about. And those are essential oils. How poisonous are essential oils? Is that something to be concerned about? She asked, of course, about a product with such as a natural insect killer in a house with cats.
So that brings us back to the dose determines the poison, right? So with essential oils, the more diluted they are, the safer they are around your pets. Okay? So I'm just going to use tea tree oil as a good example, right? There are tea tree oils in like shampoos and insecticides for cats and dogs, and they're about a 5% solution. They're labeled for use on the animals. They're safe. The problem we run into is when people use like the 100% on the animal, especially if they put it on a wound, right? I mean, tea tree oil does have antibacterial properties. However, at 100%, if you're putting that into the wound, it can get directly into the bloodstream, okay? Or we also see people putting that concentrated solution into the ear, which also can be very dangerous, right? Especially if you've got a ruptured eardrum, it's now in your central nervous system. So, yeah. So use products that are labeled for use on pets, so essential oils themselves, it's all about concentration. And that brings us to diffusers, right? This was big, popular. Can I diffuse essential oils in my household? Is it going to hurt my dogs or cats? So in general, as long as your cat doesn't have asthma or other respiratory problems, a diffuser is not going to be harmful. However, just remember their sense of smell is much more sensitive than yours or mine. And, it may be like being trapped on the airplane next to that person with too much cologne on. So make sure the animals can get away from the essential oils and maybe not run them all the time.
Okay. And that's such a great thought from there is one of the things we always talk about is remember to look at this from your cat's point of view. Increased sound, increased smells, those things, to always try and understand how our actions are affecting them, and let them really run the household like they believe that they are doing from there in that standpoint.
And with my cats, I have a little bit of inner cat issues. So I have one of those pheromone diffusers.
Yeah.
I can't smell it, but I can certainly tell you when I've forgotten to change it, because now I've got issues with the cats. So just remember, much more sensitive sense of smell than us.
Absolutely. Now we also have this kind of is a quick little segue, but we're kind of segueing back towards that increased senses and being able to hunt and catch things that we really can't. When we were talking about insecticides, Lisa brought up a really interesting point about, and just like you, she has ants. It's that time of the year. But her cat really likes to hunt and eat them.
Oh, I need her cats. Mine are useless.
No, let's just hope your cats aren't watching this webinar right now. It would be extremely hurt there. Now, when we think about it, do we have any risks or things about cats eating insects?
Yeah, so from the ant side of things, as long as we're not dealing with fire ants, then you're fine, right? The ants aren't going to hurt the cat. At worst, it could cause a little bit of stomach upset. Certainly if we're talking about other insects like, your favorite wasps that live next door, or bees, of course, you can get stung just like you or I.
Okay, but from a toxicology standpoint, we don't have as much concerns. We don't have, even if, what about, is there any potential for insects that have been killed by any of our insecticides, just from a toxicology standpoint, as opposed to just kind of that general injury?
Yeah, most of the ones we're using inside our house, the insecticides, are pyrethrins. Cause a little bit of stomach upset, but that's it.
Okay, so nothing terrible, nothing that we have to really worry about from that standpoint.
We get a lot of calls, especially from dog owners. There were ants on the food, so I sprayed it with insecticide. And then he ate the food. And you're like, of course he did. It was his food. At worst, you see stomach upset.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's pretty, I don't even know how to react to that one at this point in time.
Well, when you hear it said out loud, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But, you or I, if there were ants on our hot dog, we sprayed the hot dog. We're not going to eat it. Because we know, but dogs are like, hey, it's a hot dog.
Hot dog, still good. There's still a lot inside there. And this is why we say cats are smarter than dogs.
Yes.
To toxins there. Oh, goodness. Now, we have so many, like I say, we've got some great questions on here. I know, and I'm going to talk, we prefaced this a little earlier, and Courtney, I'm so sorry that we can't get to this. You mentioned on Courtney asked a question about, is there something that you can give your cat if they have an upset stomach? And that question is just, it's so broad. There's so much that goes into that question. We definitely recommend that you call your veterinarian, talk through them. They can either talk to you about, the severity of that, but make sure you're in contact with your veterinarian at that point in time, just because there's so many that we'd have to dive into that we can't really get to it on here. And now, let's see. My goodness, one of the questions that was asked does kind of relate to medications and really specific medications themselves. This one was from Heather. It was asking kind of about Benadryl and about antihistamines in cats. Do we see any? This one was, of course, just about, Heather was asking, is Benadryl still okay for cats? I'd actually like to expand on that question and talk about what do we see in general about cats with antihistamines? Is that something of a concern? That's so prevalent in our households with allergies, at least with mine.
Yeah. So cats can take antihistamines. You want to always talk to your veterinarian about what is an appropriate dose. Okay. You also want to make sure that you are giving a product that just has an antihistamine in it, right? Because some of these are combination products and contain things like acetaminophen or dextromethorphan, which can cause, hallucinations in cats. So yes, we can give antihistamines. So when we dose antihistamines, or let's say we had a strange cat that ate the dropped pill, or you had put it in a pill pocket for your dog and the cat ate it. Cats do that. In those cases, when we have a therapeutic dose in cats, we can see a little bit of sedation, right? They might be a little sleepy. But as we get into higher doses or overdose situations, these cats become quite agitated. So they're pacing, they're panting. If they get enough, we can actually see like some muscle tremors, high heart rate. So definitely, if the cat's eating the dog's medication, call your vet, and we can determine whether or not it's going to be enough to be a problem, or can we watch our kitty at home.
Okay. And yeah, and that, you bring up a really great point, particularly, about the combination products. We have so many available out there, particularly on the human side, that aren't all that well defined sometimes once we get them out of the boxes and everything like that. That if you are using a human product on a cat, always verify that with your veterinarian. Always verify that with your veterinarian to make sure that this is okay and safe.
Yes. Antihistamine wise, things like Claritin, they make Claritin, but they also make Claritin D, and the D is for decongestant, which is pseudoephedrine, which is just like giving your poor kitty amphetamines. So definitely need to be careful and know what product that you have.
Oh, goodness. Now, we talked a little, and we have kind of a clarification that Stephanie was asking about diffusers, and this was just kind of about the type of diffuser on there. And I'm going to have you answer this question, but then I also have a question kind of following up a little bit about that as well. So this question, sorry, I might have stolen it away.
Oh, you're fine.
About the different types, like kind of the rod and the oil type, or there's the diffuser that fully mists it into the air.
Yeah. So they are a little bit different. And I was referring to the electronic kind that makes the mist, right? The little wands, those are really interesting because not only do they contain essential oils, but they also contain something called cationic detergents. Okay, cationic detergents are corrosive. Okay, so we see cats that will, be interested in the smell of these rods, right? Oh, I like the smell. I'm going to rub against it. They groom themselves and they end up with oral ulcers. So the rod ones are definitely not, something I probably wouldn't have around my pets unless there's a controlled area where they cannot get to them.
Okay, that's really interesting. I did not know that on there. Now, one of the things that we do also, kind of the follow-up question that I had is are you having any more questions or calls, with any signs about asthma in diffusers on there? What feline asthma has been on the rise in a prevalent standpoint. And so do you get any accidental calls, or kind of what are some of the signs of asthma that we kind of think about?
Yeah. So we definitely don't recommend using diffusers around asthma cats or other products that are highly scented or perfumed, right? Use unscented, carpet cleaners, that type of thing. Because what happens with these kitties is we'll notice that they're open mouth breathing. When you watch their chest and their diaphragm, they're really moving, hard to breathe. You may hear some coughing or wheezing. But if you see that, definitely kitty needs to see the veterinarian.
Okay. Oh my goodness. They just, like I say, we have so many. It's so much. Like I say, I'm just throwing things at you. I hope you are okay with us and you're enjoying.
Yeah, no. It's like tox trivia. I'm great. This is good.
All right. So next up on our tox trivia. Now from Alma. Alma talks about human toothpaste. Cats licking up the human toothpaste in the sink. How does that come into play with cats?
Sure. So when we think about toothpaste, human toothpaste usually contains fluoride. Okay. Now the good news is it's only a small amount of fluoride. So if the cat licks it up, you might see some drooling or a little bit of stomach upset. That would be it. Very large amounts of fluoride can actually cause stomach ulcers. bloody vomiting. But the amount that's in toothpaste, that's not going to happen.
Okay. So it's not that perfect. I know that's always the concern on there. All righty. I know we got so many different ones. I'm pulling, and we've got a lot of very similar ones on there. We kind of covered this question a little earlier. But this one, of course, was asking about how cats do with bees that are cat as well. And like you mentioned, really we're worried more about the physical injury itself.
Right. Yeah. Occasionally we'll run into, a cat that can be allergic to a bee sting, just like people are. But yeah, typically it's pain. So yeah, it's bees, it's wasps, it's hornets, it's scorpions, right? Depending if you live on that area of the country. And with the scorpions, what we worry about is that can actually really affect their blood pressure. The toxins there act a little different. So those kitties do usually need to see the veterinarian for medication for pain and to reduce their blood pressure.
And now with those scorpions, is it the stings themselves, or is it actually the ingestion?
It's the sting.
Okay.
And you know how cats are, right? It's crawling across the floor. I'm going to poke it. Oh, I'm going to poke it again, right? They really kind of tick off the scorpion. And so it's not uncommon that they could get multiple stings.
Okay. Oh my goodness. And this actually is a really good question from, we've got one from C.M. Miller on there. You talked about fluoride in toothpaste. How common is xylitol in toothpaste?
So we see xylitol in quite a few children's toothpaste or in some of the more natural toothpastes. Xylitol is not a problem for cats, only a problem for dogs. And depending, if the dog takes, one lick of, the spit out toothpaste, not going to be enough xylitol to cause a problem. But if they eat the tube, it can cause low blood sugar and potentially liver failure.
Okay, perfect. There's so many different things. One of the ones that Amy just brought up and is a really great question that we need to kind of talk about is topical medications.
Oh, yes.
So Amy wanted to talk about whether just applying lotion or hydrocortisone. With Amy, with him licking up some of that applied lotion, I know she says, I feel loved. So
I know, this is the best question. Topical medications, if it is something like body lotion, if it is hydrocortisone, those aren't going to be an issue, right? Your little triple antibiotic, like your Neosporin that you put on. But there are definitely other topicals that can be problematic. So there are things like, it's called Dovanex, which is a vitamin D cream used for psoriasis. Extremely dangerous to cats. We also see something called Effudex, which is actually a topical chemotherapy. You put it on little basal cell carcinomas or squamous cell carcinomas, also very toxic to cats. It's chemotherapy, so it's going to attack any rapidly dividing cell in the body. And the third one is minoxidil, right? Rogaine. So if we are, going a little bald on top, we may want to use that. It actually causes severe cardiac problems in cats. So body lotion and hydrocortisone, she can still have her cat love on her, but some of the other topicals, absolutely not.
And now when you talk about the love on her from the other topicals that we're concerned about, are these topicals being ingested, or is it possible that there's any transdermal kind of skin-to-skin contact and passing from that way as well?
Yeah, both. And we know with cats, any dermal exposure is going to be an oral exposure very quickly because how they grew. So yes, not going to be a big deal. If you're on any kind of, sorry, I just thought of others, any kind of estrogen cream, don't do that. But cats love Menges, right? Menthol-based arthritis rubs. Cats are very attracted to them. Also Vicks, like the Vicks that you put under your nose, menthol and camphor. Cats love it, right? They are attracted to it. It is not going to cause them problems. Actually, in many like zoos, they actually use those kind of compounds in the big cat enclosures as enrichment, right? They'll put out a log that has this on it, and the cats will spend time rubbing against it, type of thing. So yeah, not a problem.
Well, I did not know that about the big cats. So that's what's happening when I see the lions really involved with something at the zoo, or rather, in the olden times when I used to be able to go to a zoo.
Yeah.
From there. Now, oh my goodness, we've had so many great questions that have been coming through on here. Now, I just wanted to take a little bit of time. We're kind of running, we're 10 minutes here, so we're starting to reach near the end of our time. I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an opportunity. We've covered a huge, wide, different range of things right here. But when you kind of think about the most important takeaways or things that you really want people to think about, what do you feel like we've missed or haven't covered so far?
Right. I think a lot of the important points about keeping cats safe is training your family members. Okay. Right. When you come home, don't put your backpack on the floor. Don't let grandma put her purse on the floor or wherever the cat can get into it. When you're cooking, make sure, the cat can't get there. When you're cleaning, keep the cat out of that area. So truly, it's not so much about changing cat behavior, which is really difficult to do. It's about changing your behavior so that we don't allow our cats to get themselves into trouble.
Absolutely. And that is such a great point. They cats themselves, they are very, very, in many ways, tell us what they need and what's going on and what they like. And so it's kind of up to us to help understand what that looks like in our homes from a danger standpoint on there. And you mentioned the one last thing I always want to bring up is grandma's purse. We went room to room from the house, but we did not go family member to family member, which certainly I think has its own risks as well from there. Grandma's purse from there. So why did you specifically mention grandma's purse?
So when I think about grandma, or grandmas in general, right? Medications, right? She's going to carry her medications with her prescription ones and her over-the-counter ones, right? Maybe she's got something for, pain. Especially if you have a dog, she's probably got some gum in there with artificial sweeteners in it. So xylitol gum. She, depending upon your grandma, she may have some marijuana in there. I don't know, right? But yeah, just a lot of different things that dogs and cats can get into in a purse.
Okay. All right. Well, it is. I mean, like I say, I always thought when I was growing up that grandma had candy and cookies in her purse, but I think grandma had everything in her purse that was just hidden over there.
Right. There's some disinfecting wipes. There's that little linty mint at the bottom. All those kind of things. Yeah.
All right. Oh, good. Oh no, I lost all the comments. Here we go. Perfect. And we've just, there we go. Like I say, we've got another, just Sam and I wanted to share this with you. It's going to completely hide me because it's huge. So I'll hide it. But just a thank you for your time. And for all that information, sharing about the app, because this is such we have so many different evolving products. Now,
right.
When we look about the future, what we're talking about today doesn't mean that we've encompassed everything that we're concerned about for cats. That even comes out in the next year. So what's your recommendations for people to stay up to date on how to keep their cats safe? Right.
So probably anything that's new is going to be on the website. So check out that website, ASPCA.org. Yeah, social media, follow us. There you go. Follow us on Facebook. Follow Basepaws. They'll go ahead and let you know. And that does bring me to another thing that I thought about with cats and medication, and that is chewable medications, right? Chewable medications for your dog or for your cat. we have a lot of dogs that have arthritis. And because we want to make it easy for them to take a pill, we make it very tasty. So people will get out their dog's medication, leave it on the counter while they go do something else. They come back and the cat is sitting there and the pill is gone. So definitely don't leave your medication where the cats can get into it if it's a chewable. Putting it in a pill pocket, yeah, cats are like, yes.
Like, this is it. This is how we roll. You got to give me treats. You got to give me treats if you want me to do this.
That's right.
All right. Well, this is, like I say, I've got a couple announcements, if you don't mind, real quick. Again, for Basepaws, I want to thank everyone so much for being here. If you want to, top right-hand corner of your screen, I believe there should be a little button that says subscribe on there, either on Facebook or YouTube. And you can subscribe and follow us on Facebook so that you'll get notified whenever these webinars or Cats and Coffee go live. We've got Cats and Coffee. It's a weekly show, happens every Wednesday. And so Becky Mosser is doing that this next Wednesday. So please tune in to do that. It's going to be a great and a fun show as always. And then next week, I have Tabitha Casera, who's coming on to talk about how to seniorify a home for a cat. We always think about, we get a lot of great discussions about kittens and about young adult cats, and then those information about how we really help those cats comfortably transition into a seniorified home, I think get lost a little bit from there. I think they do. So we're going to be doing that. We'll actually be doing that on the 9th. So we'll be doing that next Saturday from there. So many different things. And then last thing, as always, look and follow for the Basepaws challenge. And that is a weekly challenge that we run to help people get excited and learn more about how to appropriately care for cats. Now, if you're doing the Basepaws challenge and you win, you can win a free kit, or you can also win some swag from our merchandise store. So, Dr. Wismer, I think you should do that as well, and maybe those supposedly useless cats you have there can join in and win ourselves some things.
They do a very good job with the mice that get in the house. The ants, not so much.
Oh, perfect. Well, I think this is going to be a great time to wrap up. Dr. Wismer, thank you again so much for your time. This is such an important topic. We will, of course, post the ASPCA.org website. We've been rolling the phone number down at the bottom as well, but we'll be posting any and all resources from there. And if there's anything that we can do to help the ASPCA in the future, just let us know and we'll be happy to help out.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Perfect. Well, have a great day, and everyone stay safe out there.